Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. My name is Tim Rodriguez. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for BSK Associates Geoprofessional Division. And with me today is Chloe Williams, the Laboratory Manager for the Sacramento Analytical Laboratory. So welcome, Chloe.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining me. Please give us a quick, brief introduction of yourself so that everybody knows who's speaking with.
Thank you for having me. As you introduced, my name is Chloe. I went to college at Washington State University in Pullman, go Cougs. I focus really heavily in microbiology and some chemistry. At first, when I went to school, I was thinking I was going to go in as a laboratory technician. As I was looking in it, I was like, maybe research. Medical was really the divvy there. So it was either go be a doctor or more in a hospital, or you're going to do research. Honestly, both of those kind of didn't hit the nail on the head, but I really, really enjoyed microbiology and learning more about organisms and their place in our world and how they influence and how we have to work with them and coexist, but also manage them. I obviously did not want to be a doctor. That was not my suit. So I quickly realized that maybe more laboratory, but I didn't know where I was going to fall into it. When I got out of college, I kind of was just like, let's see where the wind blows me. I think I dabbled in a bunch of different industries, but the first one that I started at a lab in Portland, Oregon, where we did more food testing, shelf life, and that was really interesting and started piquing my interest. I started just as a Tech 1, making media, getting all this stuff ready, and I quickly moved into more molecular detection systems and actually running the analysis on the bench, and I loved it. I really, really enjoyed the work. I felt like it was adding to the greater good and, helping clients. Then COVID hit, so that was really, really fun. Quickly, that industry was hard. It was really impacted by COVID because you had to be in a physical working space and you had to still provide all the quality measurements. And I quickly moved then into like more of a GMPs and production and quality assurance. And I thought that was a really good tie. I could learn food science, still keep the science aspect of it, but I was able to expound if I can learn more, I'm more valuable. And so I wanted to kind of see what that led into. I quickly found a posting in Vancouver, Washington for a microbiologist. And I was like, oh, this is it. This is kind of like all my worlds tying in together. And then it was more on I was living in Washington at the side, so not having to commute into Portland was great. And so I quickly applied for that.
And this was at BSK?
And this was at BSK, yeah. So our Vancouver, Washington location is where I started. I interviewed with Elizabeth Bunger, who was the laboratory director at that time, and Joshua Scales, who was for the Fresno laboratory at that time. And awesome. It was just great to see their camaraderie and their dynamic, and then quickly learn that BSK has a really awesome mentality behind it with the staff and career development. And I really liked how much they put into our development and what we could bring. First company I've worked for that was employee owned. And so that was very exciting to learn more about that. I like to say I just kind of fell into the industry. I didn't realize that drinking water was so crucial, which makes sense. It comes from the tap. I was like, oh, it just gets there.
Yeah, I think that's what everybody thinks.
You didn't think through the process.
Right.
It's very, very extensive, as I've learned over the years. And then we have, job employment security for life, essentially. We always need clean water, clean soil. And so that's kind of just how I fell and happened upon it. My growth through BSK then went from being an analyst to, I grew up in the Sacramento location, which was coincidentally that BSK had a location here. They had a need for an analyst, and I moved here to see where I could expand and keep growing, and then quickly worked into being the laboratory manager here. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's been a little bit of a journey, I guess. Not all that long necessarily, but
couple years.
Couple years here, yeah.
Yeah.
In that process, and especially coming in and becoming, into your role now in Sacramento, what do you look at as kind of the maybe biggest hurdle or the newest change or something you're still even,
battling with? Honestly, just coming into it was a different industry. Like I said, I had worked in so many different industries. This one is very regulated. I worked GMPs, but that again is a whole another regulation type. So it was nice to have more set SOPs, processes, procedures, but then it was also like, okay, now we really got to keep in line with that too and keep up that quality control. So that was very interesting to learn. Also the ebbs and flows, I think, of coming to a company right after COVID and then moving outside of that and seeing what that did for remote workers and coming back into the office was very, very interesting. And I think all companies go through their struggles. I've definitely struggled a little bit with what I was battling with in previous experiences as an analyst. Mm-hmm. And I'm sad to say I had to leave the company at one point. It was one of the hardest decisions I had ever made because I had such great mentors at the time. I really enjoyed my job. I wanted to keep moving up, but I was struggling with a lot of aspects personally and at work. And I was just at that time decided that I needed to step
change
away,
the scenery.
Change away. And it's exactly that. And so I went into another little industry, still GMPs, but I quickly realized that's again not what I wanted. And if I could rekindle something of where I was growing with my growth, then that's awesome. I stayed in contact with Elizabeth Bunger, and she reached out to me probably about 6 months later as she had moved from Vancouver's laboratory director, where I worked directly under her. I moved into Sacramento. I was essentially not reporting to her at all. Mm-hmm. And then she let me know that we had this new leadership. We were trying to unify the satellites, and she was getting promoted to a regional director, which I was very excited about just for that growth. And it was very much like the satellites were their own little island. And that was really difficult to work just in, but also to feel supported by the other locations. And so when we were really talked about reunification and it felt like the measures were there behind it and the effort, it was very exciting. And so Elizabeth was like, would you like to come back and kind of grow with us and step back into that? And I felt fortunate. There's not many people I know that come back to BSK, and that was one of my qualms when I left, and I was worried about, crumpling it up and throwing it in the trash. I didn't want to burn that bridge, but it was very exciting that even if I come back I came back as a supervisor, but if I came back at any capacity, I was excited to keep growing with BSK and see where it pushed us.
Yeah, I mean, if there's anything I've, not personally so much, but in general, you just don't burn bridges in any line of work because you never know. Yeah, I've heard so many times somebody said never, and then, 10, 20 years after, there's something that changes in life that puts you on a different path than you expected to be on, for sure.
And you never know. Our industries are so small.
Yeah, small
and
world.
You never know. Yeah. We work with so many people that have worked for other companies or municipalities, and you're like, oh, I know you. And so you never want to put anything bad out in the ethos that could absolutely come back, for sure.
Well, one of the things you mentioned or talked about was the effort or initiative to sort of develop the camaraderie between the satellite operations in particular. We've been working company-wide on that level of collaboration now for a little while, and it's interesting to because I think it's developed in a really healthy way, but it's very different than I think a lot of. I just don't think that effort is really what we experienced. I think is really what is commonly referred to as maybe siloing, or. People kind of operate in certain geographic regions in a bubble, and they really kind of just protect themselves or worry about themselves, whether it's intentional or not. I think it's a natural sort of evolution of things. But overcoming that is really a testament to really good initiatives and goals and efforts and the people. It's never, yes, it takes leadership to make some of that happen. Like you said, you have to have an initiative, see it start moving a direction, but it takes everybody to be part of that, to be behind it. So kudos to the team for making that happen in a reality, and obviously, your smiles about it. So it's been a good experience for you. On that front, it's been shared in another episode, the staffing support that comes from this, but what other types of support do you guys lean on each other for? Is it, I know it's a different environment living outside of the main hub of an office we have for laboratory services in Fresno, but is it just commiserating, or is it more like truly leaning on each other for, different types of support, and maybe talk a little bit about that.
Commiserating is always good, get it out, but we also are really about solution-driven commiserating and making sure that, like, if we're having an issue, like, how can we resolve it?
Sure.
What's been really fun across the 4 satellites, and even with Fresno recently, has been our cross-training efforts. And so we can literally, if another location is struggling with something or staffing, we can send more people into that location. But honestly, even just remotely, I have staff here, we get really busy at like 2 to 3 o'clock. We're reaching out to the other locations for some remote login help. We've deployed a all BSK essentially review team. So if anyone needs some data reviewed, they can throw it into a chat, and there's people always available to help review it. And I think it's been awesome for also our quality services, because you're not getting the same people looking at the same data over and over again. We've been able to pinpoint issues, solutions, or maybe some potential things that this could rise as a potential issue. And I think it's been able to help us lock down our data and our quality assurance with our data. And so that feels really great, right? I'm not worried about what's coming out. And then it's also cross-trained and gotten eyes on different locations. So if at some point I need to leave, I have other coworkers who could come in and join, and it's like no time's lost, and they can come up and just kind of pick up where the piece is. And I think like that's really great for work-life balance, as well as just getting things done and not feeling overwhelmed or overstressed.
You can generically call it cross-pollination, but it's just not listening to yourself in an echo chamber, and kind of being able to be open to whether you want to call it criticism or just critique, something that could be done differently, better, all the above is just a really, really healthy culture, I think. And I think once you can embrace, and this is what I think, BSK as a whole has done really well at, is developing a culture where it's safe to do all of that stuff, share that information, but then there's also an expectation of something happening. What I heard you saying, and it kind of makes me proud even just sitting here now, is the idea of, I think there was a time, and again, I think this is common when you have the siloed offices, is that people don't know even where to start with how, you can observe a problem, you can come up with an idea, but how do I talk about that with somebody and then anticipate or expect that, have a level of expectation that there's going to be a change or an improvement or something like that. And I can feel it in like the last couple of years kind of have made that transition overall, and it's, again, looking from the outside to your side of the business, I can see it happening there too, where it's been a really great thing to observe and watch and
I think
see everybody grow into.
Interdepartment, like
absolutely.
Vancouver doesn't work with engineering. There's not an engineering firm up there yet. And Sacramento, when I moved, we had engineers directly in our office. We didn't talk. We were on 2 separate sides of the building. We didn't interact.
That was physically a divide at the office.
Yes. And so then when I came back, I quickly found out Sacramento was moving locations. And so that was really cool to get to work with you and Jim Osner a little bit more and really be able to collaborate with you guys. And I think honestly that's been the best thing for our Sacramento location too, is just the collaboration between engineering and analytical.
Really good camaraderie now. There's definitely a cool vibe in the office when you're in here now. So,
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I like it. Guess kind of generally, a lot of things to look forward to this year. What are your sort of big things you're excited about here at the office as in 2026?
For Sacramento in 2026, we've been going gangbusters. Our revenue has been up about 46% since last year, we just found out, so that's awesome. We have actually, the biggest win in our location was last year we launched a dispatch system. Previous to that, it was just off of everyone's heads, and that was really hard when we had transition of staff. And so last year we were able to really get it all on one system, and we have about 6 to 7 drivers that go out every day. Sacramento really thrives in the drinking water field, and I would say we service probably 70 to 80% of the drinking water clients in and surrounding Sacramento. Wow. And so I just want to keep expanding that. We've talked about going outside of the hour diameter that we kind of are right now, but even branching into more of the Bay Area, more using maybe some engineering offices as some advantageous of some geographical gain as well. And so I'm excited not just for Sacramento, but also like what else could come outside of that. And so I think 2026 is just going to be a continual year for growth. We're looking at bringing on some new analyses to help out our Fresno location, bring more in-house too, and so that's been very exciting.
Well, with that growth comes the need to hire. And so I know this is always, I don't know any industry that's not having some level of struggle in this, especially when you're trying to find people who are qualified or, there's always different requirements. So
100%.
if you had something to share with people you're looking to bring aboard that, might have questions about what it is we do or BSK or maybe what their background is, what is it that you would share with them that they, could maybe pick up on that would say, hey, I can get involved, or maybe this is something I can consider doing?
Oh, that's a great question, because I would say a lot of it is, so I'm constantly hiring for field technicians. I feel like that one's one we're always growing and there's a need or transition. And so I feel like that one's one that's really nice because it's entry level too. Really no experience is needed. BSK, I love our training procedures and practices and what we put. I was like, if you have tenacity and you have a want to work for a company that is also willing to give back to you, a little bit of science love is also nice. But I feel like just having a strong ethic in that way, it's nice to just apply for it because you never know. Honestly, a lot of my best interviews have just been people that have been very great conversationalists and tenacity, and I can show growth. At BSK, I've moved up, my supervisor's moved up. There's multiple people that in my career or my coworker group that have increased in their positions at BSK. And so that's one of my biggest thing I love to tout too, is like if you're willing to put in the work and learn and increase your value, BSK will also come back at you tenfold and show that back at you. Yeah, absolutely. I think often, unfortunately, people can be their own biggest obstacle for some of those things. So yeah, I think I would probably share the same. John, just anywhere, it's like energy, initiative, and follow through. Accountability. Accountability's been the biggest one. Talk about our values. All right. Well, I think that's been really good. So hey, I really appreciate you taking some time out today to join me on this and really good messaging. So thank you so much, Chloe. Yeah. Thank you.